Alright, what is up, everybody? Welcome back to the second episode of the Whattaplay podcast. I am your host, Jay Luna, alongside my co-host, Derek Fuster. And in today's episode, we will recap last night's national championship game. Alabama, once again, national champions. And we will also take a dive in. We'll also recap the remaining wildcard games that we will have to cover during our previous episode. And we'll give a prediction into this weekend's divisional round, and also some NBA and NFL head coaching news as well. So we'll get right into it. First thing on the agenda, obviously last time it's recording, the national championship game culminating what has been probably the craziest college football season in a very, very long time. Alabama took on Ohio State, and of course Alabama came out on top 52-24 over the Buckeyes, giving the Tide their 18th overall national championship, and for Nick Saban, his 7th overall and 6th at the school.
Yes.
And Devontae Smith, the Heisman Trophy winner, either going to be a top pick in this coming draft.
I'd have to say he is probably going to end up being anywhere between a top 5 and top 10 draft pick. I don't see him going overall in those first two. I do think those first two draft picks are going to be QB based, but we'll get into that. We'll get into that later. I do want to say this about Alabama. Personally, being an LSU fan, I do not like Bama. I never had, but goddamn, it's hard not to respect them and everything that they've accomplished. They are equivalent to what the 16-17 Golden State Warriors were. They're equivalent to what the three-peat Lakers were. They are that damn good. Hell, even the Tom Brady, Bill Belichick, being a former fan of the Jets, the Belichick-Brady era New England Patriots, they are that damn good. And yeah, you're gonna hate on them because they're good, but you have to respect them.
Basically speaking, they're one of the main dynasties in this era of sports, or this era of sports for us. And of course, going back onto Devontae Smith, he did end up winning most outstanding player on the offensive side, 12 receptions, over 200 yards, 3 touchdowns in the first half. He unfortunately wasn't able to finish the game due to him breaking his finger. Now, Derek, I do want to ask you this. Being an LSU fan, as you previously mentioned, how does it make you feel, seeing your biggest rival win championship after championship as they have done the past decade, basically?
You bring up a good question, and to answer that, I would have to say it sucks, man. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. You don't want to see your rival doing good. I mean, obviously LSU had their fairy tale season last year. They won it, but you want to see them build off of that. But Bama, they're just built different, man.
Yeah, definitely, one thing that all the commentators and everything have talked about, not just this national championship Alabama, but just, previous ones. You see those rosters chock full of, future NFL talent. It just seems like, Nick Saban, he just finds a way to find 5-star recruits legally. Find them legally. All jokes aside, man, Nick Saban, definitely one of the greatest college football coaches of all time.
If not the greatest college football coach of all time.
Definitely one of the greatest of our generation. So, obviously that, cultivating a weird and wacky college football season. Hopefully, our respective teams can do somewhat better next season.
Yes, and I do want to piggyback off of what you said. Obviously, it has been a weird season with everything that's been going on. The civil unrest with the race issues, the police brutality, and all that, on top of the pandemic we are currently in. Hopefully, like we mentioned in our previous episode, we can get back to fans in the stands, more so back to normal. I would like to see sports back to normal. I know, as much as you would probably like to be able to actually go and watch a game and not have to have these rules and regulation. I get why they're in place, but the sooner we can get back to normal, the better. And I do want to say, moving on from that topic, we are going to get into our wild card recap now. So, Jalen, if you'd like to start that off, and I'll come in a bit later.
All right.
Do you want to cover AFC or NFC?
I'll go ahead and do the remaining two that we were not able to cover. So, based off of our last episode, we were unable to, at the time of recording, cover the Bears, Saints, and Steelers, Browns due to those games currently being in progress. Obviously, for those who missed those scores, the Saints did take down the Bears 21-9, and definitely in the shocker around the football world, the Browns winning the Heinz Field and took down the Steelers 48-37, and possibly the biggest win for the expansion Browns since they came back. Going off of the Saints and Bears game, definitely from you look at the highlights and all that, somewhat defensive. I didn't really expect a lot of offense in that game. Alvin Kamara was definitely a big question mark on whether or not he was going to play due to him testing positive for COVID prior to Week 17, so he did not play in that game. But overall, the Saints did get Michael Thomas back. He did score a touchdown, so that was obviously a big boost to that offense. And to the Bears, 8-8, they snuck in there. Obviously, I really hope my Cardinals, they had the same record. Hopefully, it would have been them taking that spot, but that wasn't the case. But the Bears, they have nothing to hang their hats on, man. I mean, they made the playoffs. Obviously, that's real hard to do in the NFL as it is. But their future definitely is in question, with a lot of rumors circulating that Mr. Trubisky may not be with the team next season.
Yes, definitely. And I do want to kick off things with the games that we did cover earlier, starting with the Ravens-Titans game. Lamar Jackson was able to kill two narratives in that playoff game. The first narrative he was able to kill is that the Ravens are not built to come from behind. They did just that. The other narrative Lamar Jackson was able to kill: Lamar can't win the playoff games. We've heard it the past 3 years he's been in the league. He took a 4-5 Joe Flacco-led team to the playoffs, and the Chargers had the tape. They studied him, quote unquote. They said they figured him out. We had Tennessee last year. Came off our best record in NFL history. 14-2, number 1 seed. We were riding high. Got eliminated. We were in that same position, with the only difference being we were in their house. Lamar and co. went in and did their damn thing. I also want to say this: the Baltimore Ravens step in on the Tennessee Titans logo, because Jalen, you're familiar with the situation and everything that surrounds that. That's not them being cocky. That's them getting theirs. You don't come into the bank, you don't disrespect the Baltimore Ravens and expect not to get that same energy back. But the Ravens did go in, they took care of business, and they will be advancing onto the divisional.
Now, going off of that, I think the big narrative for me personally was kind of the whole Lamar can't win the big game. Watching him from his days at Louisville, 1-2 bowl record over there. His Heisman winning season, he was in a lot of, quote unquote, big time games, in which unfortunately he came out on the losing end of. And obviously that narrative somewhat followed him into the NFL.
Definitely.
Obviously, he lost a couple of more so, postseason games. He won a handful of, big time regular season games. But of course his whole thing was the whole, we can't win the big game, he can't win when it matters. And he found a way to get his first elusive playoff win this past Sunday. And I know one thing that me and you have discussed is how, was his first playoff win really elusive? Because you compare him to other star NFL players. We don't talk about he's gonna so and so is gonna need that elusive playoff win. A playoff win really isn't elusive. A Super Bowl win, yeah, but you can't really compare the two.
Yeah, definitely. And moving on to that, what other games do we still have left to talk about?
And then, really, the one that you had somewhat of an interest in was the Steelers and the Browns. The Browns going into Pittsburgh and shocking the world, really. And literally from the beginning, with the Bosch snap and the Browns scoring off of that, they put up 28 in the first quarter.
Yes, definitely.
The Cleveland Browns put up 28 points on the Pittsburgh Steelers in the first quarter. If I told you that 5 years ago, you want to look at me like, man, what are you talking about?
Definitely. And I do want to say this. I think being in the AFC North, obviously the Ravens, the Steelers, the Browns, the Bengals had a down year. I feel like they'll bounce back once they get fully healthy. That is arguably the toughest division in football. The Steelers tend to talk a lot of crap, and they were not able to back it up. So to see them get theirs, I enjoyed it very much.
And definitely going off of that, the Steelers, they talk trash before the game, as do opponents do.
all the time.
Yeah, Juju Smith-Schuster saying, oh, Browns are the Browns. But yeah, Browns did come to your house and put 48 up on you. And then Chase Claypool the other day, on TikTok Live or whatever they call it now.
It's just live.
Basically saying, oh, the Browns are going to clap at the Chiefs in the next round anyway, so it doesn't even matter. I mean, all in all, if you're a football fan, you look at the upcoming of the Cleveland Browns. Obviously, you being a divisional rival, probably not so much with you, but just a football fan in general. You look at teams like the Browns and the Bills. Pinpoint those two teams because it seems like just football fans in general are enjoying, seeing those teams like, just on the come up, on the rise, because obviously those teams were, in the basement for the longest, and now it's like, oh, they're finally getting the stuff together, looking like legitimate contenders for once, and it's very nice to see.
Yes, definitely. And I do want to talk about some of the NFC playoff wildcard games as well. Now, I know we discussed it in our previous podcast, but I do want to come back to it. The Rams-Seahawks game caught, I think, a lot of fans by surprise. I don't think a lot of people saw the Rams winning that game, but somehow, some way, they managed to pull it off, if I'm not mistaken. Or
they did. The Rams, they won that game 30-20, and again, the playoffs are all about upsets. That's all for major sports. You have, the underdog coming to your house and beat you. I'm pretty sure nobody expected Russell Wilson to perform the way he performed. To be honest with you, Russell Wilson. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the league, and he just, unfortunately, he laid an egg, just to be straight up with you. But taking nothing away from the Rams, they have easily one of the best defenses in the league.
Yes,
led by Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey. Ramsey basically shut down DK Metcalf.
And it is, like you said, it is surprising to see Russell Wilson not perform to his standard. I put the man on my Madden team earlier, and the man put up 10 touchdowns. Where's that Russell Wilson?
Well, rookie mode, though.
All Madden, baby. But Russell Wilson, in all seriousness, he will bounce back. He'll be back with a vengeance next year. He got to get home to Sierra, make some babies.
Right, and like how the Steelers-Browns game kind of had some impact for you, Rams-Seahawks definitely had an impact for me, being a Cardinals fan. And going back on what you say, how you say the AFC North is definitely going to be, it's probably one of the most competitive divisions in football, especially going forward. It's going to be the same way with the NFC West. You got obviously Seattle, the Rams, the Cardinals, and the Niners. The Niners are definitely going to be a different team next year. So, one of those teams got to be the fourth seed, man. Hopefully it's not Arizona, but, it's definitely going to be fun to see, going forward, because all four of those teams definitely have players to make them what they are.
Yeah, for sure. And the last playoff game I want to talk about in the wild card before we move on to our divisional round predictions is the football team versus the Buccaneers. At the start of this season, and you feeling the way you feel about this man, you might have agreed. I had said when Tom Brady had signed with the Buccaneers that he was washed and that he couldn't get it done. I am man enough to sit here today and say I was wrong, and Tom Brady shut me up on that. Went in, I think he had like 40-something touchdowns in the regular season. A lot of people were like, well, he's going to be one and done in the playoffs. No, he did the damn thing. Don't get me wrong, the football team put up a hell of a fight, but Tom Brady is Tom Brady.
Right.
He is not a system quarterback.
And that was definitely one of the things that people were talking about was, damn, maybe Tom Brady was the system in New England. It wasn't, he's not going to succeed with a non-Bill Belichick-led team. Bruce Arians is definitely a hell of a coach, and he went to Tampa. Obviously, there was some bumps on the road, but he went to Tampa. He brought a star-studded cast with them, slowly but surely, but they ended up going into Landover and knocking off the football team. And like you said, the football team won no joke. Tyler Heineke is definitely one.
Heineke.
He's definitely one of the the biggest stories coming out of the wild card round is the whole, he put up a heck of a fight, possibly throwing his name in consideration for if Alex Smith were not to return next year. Could Tyler Heineke be somewhat the future starting quarterback for the Washington football team? And of course, that defense led by defensive rookie of the year hopeful Chase Young. Like I said, in the pilot episode, Chase Young has the potential to be the football team's biggest star defensive player since the late great Sean Taylor.
Yes, definitely. And I want to piggyback off something you said there. You said Heineke did throw his name potentially into the ring to be the football team's next starting quarterback. I'd agree with that, obviously, given the situation that Dwayne Haskins put himself in. Much similar to what Earl Thomas did last season, I would say. Not in the same sentiment or severity, but he kept making rookie mistake after rookie mistake. And I think the team trying to find their identity, trying to find their culture, trying to figure out who they are, after being known formerly as the Washington Redskins for so long, that team is not going to put up with any of that bullshit, straight up and simply put.
Right, and then going from that, from the wild card to the divisional round, as the playoffs will kick off this Saturday.
And I do want to cover the first one in the AFC, because this one personally is my favorite on the tap. We have the Ravens visiting the Buffalo Bills. Two of, if not the two best quarterbacks from the 2018 draft class who were not supposed to get into position where they're at. Many people, they thought they were good, yeah, but they didn't think they would be this damn good. I have a tremendous amount of respect for Josh Allen and everything he's done at the QB position for the Bills. Tremendous respect for Stephon Diggs. Obviously, he's a Maryland native. I am from Maryland. At the end of the day, I do want to see Lamar and co go in, get theirs. I do think it's going to be a fairly even game. I have Baltimore winning it, though.
Yeah, so Baltimore going into Buffalo and upsetting the Bills?
Yes.
Right, and going off of what you said, that 2018 draft class, led by Lamar and Josh Allen, two guys who, like you said, a lot of people kind of wrote them off as to, the whole, they're not going to succeed there, not going to succeed there, but Josh Allen, as much as I hate to say, being a former Jets fan, he definitely developed into one of the top young QBs in the league. And of course, Lamar Jackson, someone whom I have somewhat of personal history with. We'll get with that in a later episode.
Of course.
But yeah, like you said, two of the best QBs out of that draft class definitely developed very nicely. Now, Bills Mafia,
they're a different breed, man.
They really are, and they'll have a handful of them there. It definitely will be back and forth. It's not going to be a blow on either end. But, all, seriousness, all biases aside, I do feel like, Buffalo with Josh Allen and Diggs, not only Diggs and my sister, Stephon Diggs, I do feel like they will find a way to win a close one in Bills Stadium and send the Bills to their first AFC Championship game since the 90s.
Okay, respectfully, I'll have to disagree there. And I got two words for you. I'm not trying to let my bias play into this a lot, but sometimes it's going to happen, and that's just sports for you. Marlon Humphrey, one of, if not the best cornerback in the game today, had a crappy game, and he knows he had a crappy game. He's primed for big moments. He is going to be the guy covering Diggs. And don't get me wrong, I know y'all don't just have Diggs. Y'all got Diggs. You got Smokey Brown. He used to play for the Ravens. He's one of my favorite receivers. You got Cole Beasley. Devin Singletary. Y'all aren't no slouches. Y'all like to put people through tables for some reason. I mean, I don't know. Were y'all raised by the freaking Dudley boys?
I mean, let's be honest. There probably isn't much to do in Buffalo. No dig at Buffalo in general. Diggs. Respectfully, but hey, y'all gotta find a way to have some fun out there, I guess.
All right, and we got another AFC AFC matchup on tap with the Chiefs and the Browns. I do want to say this one I'm excited for, man. A lot of people are counting the Browns out because it's Patty Mahomes. Hi, Patty Mahomes here. No, I got mad respect for Mahomes. But Mahomes, as I told one of my boys earlier, he is not unstoppable. He's great. Arguably the best at his position right now. The Browns are on a mission, man. I think this is going to be the upset game of the divisional round. Bold take. I have the Browns going into Arrowhead and beating the Chiefs.
Yeah, the Browns going to Arrowhead and beating the Chiefs.
I do, and I'm going to stick by that.
All right. Now, obviously, I'm a Baker Mayfield fan. I have respect for Patrick Mahomes as well. But, I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, the Chiefs are the Chiefs. I'm not going to pull a Chase Claypool and say, oh, the Browns are going to smoke anyways. No, I mean, like you said, Cleveland's on a mission, man. This is arguably the best stretch of football this team has seen in a very, very long time. And, I'm pretty sure up in Northeast Ohio, there's a buzz going around, like, something they haven't felt since 2016 with the Cavs and the Indians. It's the Browns, man. We lived and died by this team. They're finally good. But, it'll definitely be very, very exciting for sure. You have, Baker, Jarvis, one of the best RB duos in the league with Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt.
Definitely.
And then also look at Kansas City. Obviously, we all know who they got. Mahomes, Hill, Kelsey, Edwards-Helaire, Le'Veon, some dogs out there on defense as well, just like
Definitely.
The Browns. It'll be close for sure. It'll probably be high scoring. It'll probably be like when these two quarterbacks met up in college, when they put up over 800 yards of offense back in the day. But as much as I would like to see, Baker take that next step, I feel not just yet. Y'all have to wait just a little bit more. And I think the Chiefs will probably hold ground and probably will win with a touchdown, I'll say, within the last 2 minutes.
Okay, and I see that potentially playing out. However, I would much rather, I can't even say much rather because both these teams are that damn good. Obviously, you have to face somebody. You don't want to face the Chiefs because that is Lamar's kryptonite. He's going to get his, though. I'm set on that. But you don't want to face a pissed-off Browns team either. And they are pissed off, and like we both said, they are on a mission. So I am going to stick with my pick of Cleveland. And I think we have the NFC to cover. So, co-host Jalen, if you want to start us off on that.
All right. And on the NFC side, we have the Rams taking on the Packers and the Buccaneers taking on the Saints. Now, that first game, Rams and the Packers, again, man, you look at that Rams defense, nobody expected them to hold Seattle the way they did. But you're playing pissed off Aaron Rodgers, man. And I've been saying this to him. I've been saying this to a lot of people. You don't want to piss off Aaron Rodgers. And piss off Aaron Rodgers has been playing some of the best football of his career. Possibly some of the best football since that Super Bowl run almost 10 years ago. But, you also, obviously, you look at the Rams. Yeah, Jared Goff, who has only one thumb. But I think that Green Bay team, that might be a little bit too much for the Rams to handle. And I think Green Bay will take that win, and they will punch a ticket into the NFC Championship game for the second year in a row.
Definitely, and I don't think, obviously, it's no secret, Baltimore is my first team. They will always be my first team. Green Bay is, and always will be, team numero dos. I do think this is the first divisional game we agree on. Green Bay is going to, I'm not going to say smoke the Rams because they aren't slouches. Green Bay is going to advance on to the conference championship game. Like you said, they're playing pissed off Aaron Rodgers. We have the stud back in Aaron Jones. You have your number one receiver in Devontae Adams.
Right. And so, going off of that, the second divisional game, we have Brady versus Breeze Part 3 in a playoff matchup, something that, again, 5 years ago, we would have, hoped to see these guys in the Super Bowl, but we'll take the playoff matchup, considering the fact that, this, in all likelihood, may be Drew Brees' last season. And of course, Brady, he only signed a 2-year deal, so who knows when he'll hang it up. But the Saints and the Buccaneers, man, I kind of think this one will be a little bit different. I mean, you look at the previous two matchups between these two teams, the Saints blew them out. You know, the Saints straight up have their number. They dominated them on both sides of the ball. But, you know, it's the playoffs. There's a lot more at stake. I don't think it'll be a blowout. I kind of don't see this one being close either. And I see, you know, the Hot Boys down in New Orleans going back to the NFC Championship game.
I believe you mean NFC.
NFC, my fault.
And just before we get on to who I think is going to win that game, I do want to apologize for the noise here. We obviously do live in a military town, so you're going to hear a lot of overhead noise. We are just getting started on this. It blows up and stuff when we get bigger to where we can get into a studio or something. Hey, that's great, but for now, just bear with us. Personally, you have
The Saints.
Breeze and the Saints
Right.
going to the NFC conference game. I don't know if I can agree with you on that. Obviously, like you said, the past two games, Breeze has smoked Brady. I just feel something's different. Bruce Arians is a great head coach. I feel like he's going to call something up, and he's going to get Tom Brady and them boys back to the NFC championship game, conference championship. Yes, sir.
Right. And obviously, if Tampa were to win, it would be their first trip to the NFC championship game since they won their lone Super Bowl back in 2003. So obviously, we'll see. We'll be watching the playoffs just like you guys, and you know, once those games are over, you know, you're all gonna hear from us the following week on who we think is gonna go to the Super Bowl. And now, anything else you would like to add on today's show?
Yeah, of course. I want to get into some head coaching vacancies and where we think some people would fit in, who's going to go where, in regards to the NFL. So I know a hot candidate is the Chiefs OC. Not really too sure how to pronounce his last name. Eric Bieniemy. So he is getting head coaching job offers, not offers, but interviews left and right. He just recently had the Texans request to interview with him. I think the Jets had an interview with him. The Eagles obviously just fired Doug Peterson, so they might get in on that action if they haven't already.
You know, I know EDP is probably happy about that.
Very much so. What other teams? The Falcons have a head coaching vacancy.
The Chargers as well.
And the Lions. Did they also interview with?
As far as my knowledge, I'm pretty sure they have.
So you have all those teams. Personally, I think the best fit for Bieniemy would be the Texans. You've seen what the man's done. Obviously, Mahomes is Mahomes, but you've seen what the man's done with the weapons he have. You give him Deshaun Watson. Upgrade your running back, Texans, because David Johnson ain't it. I'm sorry to come at him like that, but he's not. He was great at one point, maybe back in 2016. You need to get younger at the running back position, though. If you get him the weapons, obviously you got Will Fuller over there if he signs with them. I think, who else do they got?
They still have Brandon Cooks.
You still got Brandon Cooks. He's no slouch on himself. You pair that man with Deshaun Watson, they're going to put the league on notice.
Right, and you know, definitely, you know, going off of the Texans and all that, we've all heard the rumors of, you know, Deshaun Watson. He is not happy with the Texans at all. You know, at first they didn't interview Bieniemy, or they didn't offer him an interview for some reason. But, you know, if you piss off, you know, your franchise quarterback, things are going to get ugly down there. And then, I guess, to make matters worse, all the rumors about him and Tua Tagovailoa possibly getting swapped for one another. And, you know, hopefully that doesn't happen. I feel like, you know, Deshaun's home is in Houston. But if he does end up getting traded to another team, if they don't hire Bieniemy, we'll see what happens if that were to happen.
Yeah, definitely. And I think we can both speak saying living in Texas, there would be a lot of sad Texans fans if they were to see Deshaun Watson go.
I mean, they already have to deal with John Ray Hopkins leaving. I mean,
That one stung for them, definitely. You obviously reap the benefits being a Cardinals fan. So I do want to move on from the Texans head coaching vacancy to the Jets because you got some familiarity with that territory.
I do. And, looking at all the news and stuff today, Robert Saleh, the defensive coordinator in San Francisco, they have offered him another interview down there. And that would definitely be interesting, to say the least. I'm pretty sure a lot of, Jet fans out there, they want to be enemies just like everybody else does. But you see what Robert Saleh has done in San Francisco. He built a defense that went to the Super Bowl last year. He definitely isn't no slouch either. Now the Jets going with the defensive minded head coach again. I don't know how that would pan out. I mean, you look at the past few coaches that they had. Rex Ryan, he was good, but we all know what happened there.
Yes, definitely.
And then of course, Todd Bowles, the one fluke season of 10-6. I remember that very well, and he didn't pan out well. And then, that guy Adam Gase. We're not going to talk about Adam Gase.
The quote unquote QB whisperer.
Yeah, I have some beef with Adam Gase. I'm not going to say.
You have some resentment, but we'll get into that in a later episode. So obviously, piggybacking off of that, we did mention that the Eagles fired their head coach, Doug Peterson. And I don't think a lot of people saw that one coming. Maybe they did. I know personally speaking to an Eagles fan myself, he said he was willing to give Peterson one more year. That being said, there is an OC that I believe has been getting some head coaching buzz. Coaches out in Carolina by the name of Joe Brady.
That name does sound familiar.
Familiar with him. He pretty much made Joe Burrow, and just to sidetrack a bit, prayers out to Burrow. Obviously, he tore his ACL earlier in the season. He does play in the AFC North. One of my favorite quarterbacks. Hope that man gets better, heals up, and he's back to playing football soon. However, I think Joe Brady could do wonders with a QB like Jalen Hurts. You obviously have the other weapons you have right there. I believe you got wide receiver Robbie Anderson. You have some familiarity with him.
He's in Carolina.
That's what I said. Oh, shit. My bad. I fucked up.
Alshon Jeffrey.
Yes.
Obviously, the Eagles have, some...
Deshaun Jackson is who I was thinking of.
Right. Joe Brady to Philly, that will also be interesting as well. And, you look at Jalen Hurts, he basically came out of nowhere. But from what I have seen, with Doug Peterson getting fired, that Carson Wentz, his likelihood staying in Philadelphia has grown a little bit since the firing of Peterson. So who's to say maybe that might have saved Wentz in Philly?
I personally have to disagree there, Jalen. I don't think Wentz is the answer in Philadelphia. You've seen it before with guys like Kaepernick taking over for Alex Smith, Lamar Jackson taking over for Joe Flacco. I think we're heading more in that direction. You don't draft a QB at the position and how early he got drafted to have him sit for very long. I feel like he will be taking over that position sooner rather than later. Obviously, we have some other head coaching vacancies. I believe, as we said, the Falcons, the Chargers.
Jacksonville does have one, but
Jacksonville has
from
one.
what we have heard and from what y'all have obviously heard,
Yes.
Urban Meyer more than likely the
Next head
shoe-in
coach.
head coach for the Jaguars. And I think the interesting part with that is the Jaguars do have that number one overall pick. Obviously, he did not coach this guy at Ohio State, but there have been some rumors going around saying that if Meyer is hired, slight bars, by the way, he might take Justin Fields over Trevor Lawrence, thus letting Lawrence fall into the Jets' lap.
Yes.
So, I mean, going to you, what do you think about that possible headline?
I think personally speaking, I do like the possibility of Urban Meyer taking over for the Jags. I have seen some stuff on Twitter and other socials and dirt sheet stuff of that nature saying that he is already assembling a staff if he were to get the job.
I have heard that.
Yes, so I feel like it would shock a lot of people. Shock but not surprise a lot of people if he were to take Fields over Lawrence. And I do think Lawrence is what the Jets need in order to get that rebuild and back to where they need to be.
So basically, if somehow Trevor Lawrence were to fall into the Jets' lap, that'll be the way of saying to me, please come back.
Yes,
we
obviously.
miss you over here. You're one of our most loyal fans. Please come back. We miss you over here. But all seriousness aside, and all joking aside, if that were to happen, I do feel like those two franchises, their futures will be shaped very differently. You look at, the Jaguars, kind of just been there for the majority of their existence. Obviously, when they got the number one pick, you already had Jaguar fans making up the Lawrence jerseys and all that.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like if they do get Urban Meyer and he does stick with Justin Fields, you're gonna have a lot of very, very upset people out there in Duval because they look at it as Trevor Lawrence is the best QB prospect I think since Andrew Luck, and for you to basically pass up on him for a guy like Justin Fields, who isn't a scrub, by the way. Justin Fields is definitely one hell of a player, but I just feel like a lot of people in that fan base will be very, very disappointed. Now, obviously, if they do take Fields and he performs, maybe their opinion of him might change. But if, Trevor Lawrence could somehow fall into the Jets' lap, just like how Tua fell into the Dolphins' lap last year, kind of going off of that, the whole Dolphins kind of messing up their tank, but they still didn't get their guy in Tua Tagovailoa. The Jets messed up their tank by winning a couple of games toward the end of the season.
Yes.
And there's still a slim chance that they can still draft Trevor Lawrence. But obviously, we'll see what happens.
Obviously, you don't want the Jets to jet and mess up taking out on a QB or drafting a QB and going for an offensive lineman. However, we will get into the topic on a later episode of whether or not it's okay to be a bandwagon and stuff of that nature. I do believe there are two other head coaching vacancies we did not mention within the Falcons and the Chargers, if I'm not mistaken. And that's because I honestly don't know. They might go after the same guys we had mentioned for some of the other teams. There's also a guy still in the playoffs, a defensive coordinator for the Baltimore Ravens by the name of Wink Martindale, who might get some head coach interest after the playoffs. Haven't heard much, but I also have heard he is one of the names out there. Personally, you've seen what that man has done with the Baltimore Ravens defense, and it would suck to lose him. But obviously, you'll just have to go next man up if that's the case. And I would wish Wink, if he were to get a head coaching opportunity, all the best in his future endeavors. Not to sound like he's getting fired or anything. But Jalen, do you have anything you want to add on to the podcast before we end it?
So there has been some NBA news this week revolving one Kyrie Irving. There have been videos of Kyrie attending a party, not wearing a mask. Obviously, in this current state in sports, that's definitely a big no-no, and he might not play this weekend if those rumors are true.
Yes, and he did, from what I've seen circulated on the Twitters, end up going off the grid and leaving the Nets for quote-unquote personal reasons. You can't do that, man. You're supposed to be a star player along with KD. You have to set an example and lead by example. I know you and personally a couple other people may not like Kyrie Irving or that. I do have mad respect for the guy, but I do want to see him set a better example. That being said, there are COVID rules. Adam Silver, the commissioner for the NBA, and company are enforcing stricter COVID rules because of that violation. So let me get your thoughts on that. And I do have one thing after we talk about this that I want to add on, and then we can wrap the podcast up.
Right, and of course, going off of that, Kyrie, I have nothing but respect for him. He is a little bit on the weird side with some of his, off-the-field antics. But
Flat Earth.
But like you said, man, Adam Silver is enforcing more stricter rules.
I do think, personally, Adam Silver is my favorite commissioner sports-wide.
I can agree with that. Granted, you really can't choose from much. I mean, Roger Goodell is Roger Goodell. MLB's commissioner, and of course Gary Bettman in the NHL. Obviously, you're not really big on the hockey, but he's pretty terrible as well. So.
Yeah. And on that note, I do want to end this podcast on one final thing. It is sports related. Head coach of the New England Patriots, Bill Belichick. I know you have some history with that man. Had received the honor to receive the Presidential Medal, and he turned it down, quoting the actions of, and I hate to get political here, but the actions of President Trump's supporters and stuff of that nature were disgusting and vile. And I didn't think my respect for Belichick could get much higher, but after I saw that, respect through the roof, man.
Right, and of course, going off of that, like I said, I have a history, of Bill Belichick being a fan of a rival team for as long as I was. After seeing, saying that, he's gonna get the medal, but then him basically, after seeing your response to what went down this past week, I don't want to know more. And I think with a lot of players and a lot of fans, I think more so for the younger generation, that gave a lot of people more respect for him. Basically saying, yes, me and you, we have a history, we go back, but just the way you handled this, just the way you've handled stuff in the past, I'm gonna say no on this one.
Yeah, definitely. And personally, my views, I do not respect anybody who is racist, who is homophobic, transphobic, stuff of that nature. You're well aware of that. I believe many people share the same views there. That said, I do think it's time to wrap it up. So anything you want to say to our viewers?
Not much. I mean, we do appreciate the support y'all been giving us, with the Twitter page and, watching the videos. We are up and coming. We do know that we have a long way to go before, we start getting more well known and all that, but any little bit of support, we do appreciate you guys. Obviously, you can follow us on Twitter. We'll follow the podcast page on Twitter at Whattaplay Pod. You can follow me on my socials, Twitter and Instagram at Jalen Luna. And you can follow co-host Derek on his social medias, Twitter at _big_D_410. And then on the Instagram as well at Nassau_SlimShady96.
Definitely. I do want to say, like I said, like co-host Jalen said, we are new, we are upcoming. We're not where we want to be, but we are going to get there. This is something we've put a lot of hard work into. This is something that we are both proud of. This is something we want to continue doing. Personally, myself, I am going to school for sports broadcasting and stuff of that nature. I believe co-host Jalen, not currently in school, but has been playing with the idea of going back for more or less the same thing. We appreciate the support. We got much love for y'all, and tune into the next episode. Much love.